Welcome, everybody, to the 50th episode of the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike-EL, and as always, I'm joined by...
Mike-EL of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and we have a very special guest this week in the form of a secret guest that I went over Mike's head and recruited without him knowing, Kevin Jank.
Hey, everybody, how you doing?
It's Kevin Jank. Of course, for those who don't know, he's a regular guest on the LCS Hockey Radio Show. He hosts another podcast with our buddy Larry, Mackey's Clubhouse.
Yeah.
All about the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. Not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D.
A show that has been off the air for like 12 years.
Yes.
So we're really hitting it in the prime of popularity.
And I've never seen it, but I hear very good things.
Oh, it's great.
It's all right.
Yeah?
You're not missing anything.
I don't know if
Anyway.
Mike-EL's taste anymore, considering how dismissive he is of the world's first superhero, Superman.
Yes.
I gotta say, the issue we were talking about this week, if this was your attempt to get Mike-EL to care about Superman, this was probably the worst way to go about it.
Hey, I never said it was good. All I said was okay. So yeah, let's talk about why I picked this one. So this is the kind of the beginning of the Bronze Age Superman. So for those that don't know, before this issue, he was sort of the all-powerful, invulnerable superhero that modern fans tend to dislike, right? Like, unable to hurt him. He could run faster than the Flash. He could fly faster than anyone, survive in outer space. And in this issue, Denny O'Neil tried to begin the process of depowering him. And so that's why I picked it.
And he does it by getting rid of Kryptonite. So that's nice. But hey,
that was kind of
making him even stronger.
Yeah.
But Mike-EL, we never actually mentioned the issue. Superman 233 from 1971 is what we're discussing.
Right.
And
Kryptonite Nevermore. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, this is considered the first Superman Bronze Age book. Now, Mike-EL, I think last week on the show, though, you kind of alluded to it being the pick you were making was like the first Bronze Age book ever.
Well, there's no such thing, really. It's sort of a, it's a disputed thing. It's not like, like Silver Age is definitely showcase number 4, but there's no real hard and fast choice for the first Bronze Age comic,
Yes, but just to make it clear to everybody, this book here has no historical significance in terms of Bronze Age era itself starting. None. Zero, Mike-EL. Zero. Not even close to being considered. I went through and I researched this the other day. Read all kinds of discussions on comic book forums with nerds and everything. Mm-hmm. No one mentioned this, not even once. This didn't come up at all. 2 books came up the most. Would you care to guess what those 2 books were?
I'm going to guess Green Lantern, Green Arrow, 76.
Correct. That was the one for DC.
And then Marvel. I'm just going to guess the death of Gwen Stacy.
No, that was a little bit later. But it's mentioned as like one of the highlights of the Bronze Age era, and it was a turning point. But in terms of starting the Bronze Age, the Marvel book mentioned the most, Conan #1.
Which is, of course, incorrect. Completely incorrect.
No.
But anyway.
Because the reason... here's what they were saying makes the Bronze Age what the Bronze Age is and why Conan was so influential. But basically, the Bronze Age, this fella, I would quote him, but it's just some dude on a message board. But he wrote this real long post. And the 3 things they said was, 1, more adult themes captured within, the commercial comic code approved American comic books. Number 2, new generation of creators coming on board with new political and artistic pretensions. And number 3, a fertile period of experimentation from the big 2 publishers, because this was a time when Stan Lee went out to L.A. Mm-hmm. So other people were running things for Marvel, and then Carmine Infantino was kind of leading DC, and apparently he was just not so good. Like he wasn't like...
There's one important criteria not mentioned right there, and that's vulnerability to kryptonite. And that was addressed in this comic, and that's why I picked it.
Oh, see, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
But the reason why keys to the Bronze Age.
Right.
But the reason why Conan was so influential is it came out in 70. It wasn't a superhero book. It was like, sword and sorcery book. So it showed that other options were available. So it led to a bunch of subsequent titles like that. Your Howard the Ducks, your Draculas, your Krulls, all those other kind of things. And also the hero was a kind of an anti-hero. He lived by his own moral code. They was very violent. He was killing people. That was also new. So from that point, that led to, your Wolverines and Punishers and stuff like that. So yeah, Conan #1. And then Green Lantern 76. Right. Mike-El, why don't you tell the kids why that's so famous?
Also written by Denny O'Neil, but it was drawn by Neil Adams, and that was the first team-up issue of Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and that began the sort of trek across America where they would deal with a different social issue each, story. There'd be drug abuse, overpopulation, racism, everything.
Yes.
And I think it went on for a year or so.
And that particular issue is the famous scene where, the African-American fella confronts Green Lantern and says, hey, you're helping the Blueskins. Why aren't you helping the Blackskins? Right. So they're attacking social issues, and that was never done in the Silver Age. So right. I would say that's the first issue of the Bronze Age, Green Lantern.
I also have to point out one other thing. There is a Superman issue that I could have picked that is more appropriate, and that's Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen 133, because that's Jack Kirby's first issue.
Yes, that's another. People did bring that up. They said some people argued that when Kirby left Marvel to DC, that was the start of the Bronze Age.
Right. And the other thing I didn't realize until I was reading this issue is that's also where Morgan Edge comes in. And, like a slightly different Superman supporting cast. And then in this issue that we read, it's the first time Superman or Clark Kent becomes a news TV broadcaster. So that was a big change. But again, you could argue that's not significant enough to start the Bronze Age. But
no.
Superman
again,
definitely.
This book has no historical significance for starting the Bronze Age. None.
I would say it has a big, it typifies the Bronze Age in that, much like a bronze medal, you tell someone you got a bronze medal, they're like, so what, who cares? Come back to me when you got something interesting. That's kind of how I felt about this issue.
Now, Jank, you're joining this for the big 50th anniversary episode, a big monumental event, because I don't think if we go through the history of the world, I don't think any podcast has ever lasted 50 episodes. I think we're the first.
Right.
Yep.
So...
This is the Bronze Age of podcasting now.
So how did you feel when you were brought on the show to discuss Superman?
At first I was excited. I was like, this could be interesting. I like a lot of Superman lore. Like, maybe he's going to be fighting somebody cool, like Parasite or Mr. Mxyzptlk, and I could just hear Gilbert Gottfried's voice in my head the whole time or something like that. But no, turns out not really fighting much of anybody this week.
No, not so much. There's something else I wanted to say about the Superman, Mike-El, and now I can't. I'm old, and I just woke up. We're recording this at an ungodly hour. I don't know how you.
5:43 in the afternoon. Yeah. Well, we should also point out, the other thing is the thing this has in common with some of the other comics. Again, we mentioned Denny O'Neil because Denny O'Neil did the Green Lantern, Green Arrow. He also was the one that did the Wonder Woman revamp, where she got the white jumpsuit and lost all her powers.
Yeah, so that was his gimmick, just making everybody
taking everyone's powers away.
Right. And they also revamped Batman, right? And they kind of returned him to be.
They gave him powers.
Yeah, exactly. No, but they made him the Dark Knight, and they introduced Ra's al Ghul. They kind of saved Batman from the campy era of the 1960s TV show. So Denny O'Neil, I'm not a huge fan of his writing, but he was doing a lot at this time.
Yeah, and I know I had a really good point to make, and now I can't remember.
He just recently passed away, I think, right?
That's true. Just like a month ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Perfect timing.
We've talked about Denny O'Neil on this show before, though, right, Mike-El?
Yes.
I didn't do any research on him because I figured we've already done it, right?
The only other thing I can say is he did write possibly the worst run in Amazing Spider-Man history. He's also known for that. So.
Jank, how do you feel about that?
Maybe rest in peace.
They left that part out of the obituary in the recent
Like, what was he doing? What was he doing with Spider-Man? That made it so bad.
It just wasn't written well, and I don't know how to really explain, but like he just got all the supporting characters wrong. J. Jonah Jameson was wrong. Spider-Man became a complete dick. Like, there's several examples where like people like bluntly like ask him, "Can you please help me in my situation?" And he'll just be like, "Sorry, you need help on a boat? I don't go on a boat. See you later." And then he'll just swing away. And then you know what I mean? Like, "Sorry, I don't help uncles. See you later." You know. But yeah, it's really this weird trend of just turning people down that need help. Really weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think he would have learned about helping uncles from his whole origin story.
Right. Oh, he also strung a girl along named Deborah Whitman for like 2 years and like was constantly making out with her and supposedly having sex, but he never committed to her and would always kind of in her head kind of like patronize her, like, she's a nice kid. I'm just not that into her. And wow, she really takes this seriously, like just after banging her, you know what I mean? So Peter Parker became a total dick.
That's how you make a hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
maybe that's what they got the inspiration for Spider-Man 3 when he goes all emo with his hair in his eyes and all that. But anyway.
Perhaps.
Maybe he thought he was still writing Batman, like the swinging Playboy.
Right. Could be it.
So we mentioned Denny O'Neil's the writer of this, and Kurt Swann is the artist.
Oh yes, Kurt Swann.
And we'll talk about him later. I got some info about him. But he's basically the definitive Superman artist from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, right, Mike-El?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I got some stats later about him and his Superman drawing. But anyway, anything else we should say about this before we get in? There's not a lot of extra characters to research and give you their history on.
No, I mean the only significant character people might not know is Morgan Edge, like we said earlier. He was just introduced, I think, 2 months earlier by Jack Kirby, and I believe he bought the Daily Planet. And and I think later you find out isn't he connected to Darkseid, or am I wrong about that? I think he's connected to Intergang, I think.
Well, I kind of thought he was connected to Johnny Double because he's like wearing a turtleneck.
No, I don't think so.
But Mike-El, I know what I wanted to say about the Superman. So every week, we get these books and like, here's a link to the book. You can read the book. So I wasn't sure if you told Jank the link yet. So I tried to send him the link on Facebook Messenger. Right. And Facebook Messenger would not let me send the link. They said it was abusive.
Yes. and we have to confess to our listeners how we read these comics, right?
Well, we get access to
There's a gray area.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the point is, Facebook Messenger was trying to take care of me and Jank. Hey, don't read this. Do not read this. And let me just say, after reading the book, I could not agree more with Facebook Messenger's evaluation. It is very abusive.
Might take years of therapy to recover.
I might have to follow up with a Danny O'Neill Spider-Man then. Just to double down.
Like, can you think of what issue numbers he was writing Spider-Man?
Definitely. I think he started around 205-ish.
Oh, okay. See, I wasn't reading any of those then.
Yeah, and he went to like maybe 225 or something around there.
Oh, that's not too long.
Yeah. Well, I think he was quietly, removed.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yep.
All right, Mike-El. So this book, like we said, Superman 233, 1971, the cover, Neil Adams did the art for the cover.
Right.
Yeah, explain the cover for the kids.
So we got the title Superman, and above that it says, The Amazing New Adventures of Superman. And I love this if this book came out today, they obviously would have just rebooted it at number 1, right? But they keep the numbering, January, number 233, 15 cents, and then on the right, it says number 1 best-selling comics magazine. So it kind of tricks you into thinking it's a new number 1, but they're just bragging about how popular.
Yeah, there's a giant number 1 numeral.
Right.
Numeral 1 best-selling comics.
Right.
So yeah, if you're just looking at the cover, you're like, oh, it's issue 1.
Right. And Superman is breaking kryptonite chains with his chest. It's a great shot by Neil Adams, and at the bottom it says "Kryptonite Nevermore."
Yeah, Jank, what do you feel? How do you feel about this cover?
I found it interesting that they're touting this as the number 1 comic, magazine. But then on the next page, it's like a return to greatness starting now. It's like, well, does this book suck or is it popular? Which one is it?
Make Superman great again, right?
Yep.
You see, like, here's the thing: is like for people like me who love the Silver Age Superman, I think he was kind of in the doldrums for at least 3 or 4 years. Like the Silver Age had kind of faded away, and so if you read those issues between 67 and 70, they're pretty crappy. And so this was DC's attempt to sort of revamp him, you know?
Well, Jank, I told Mike-El before that I thought we were reading 223. So I looked at that to see what it was. And on the cover, it's Superman hooked like in a chair, kind of like hooked up to, I don't know, some sort of machine. And these 3 girls are standing around him and said, "Superman, you can't join our club." And that was like the big thing. Those are the kind of stories they were doing.
That's right.
Over Superman.
These are like Nancy Drew stories or something like that.
Yeah. Very strange.
Sweet Valley High.
You can't join our club. Mike-El,
I know you'll be mad that I was skimming forward a couple of issues, and maybe 5 issues or so after this, there was one where he fights a giant monkey.
Oh,
so you missed out on that one.
So, yep.
What the fuck, Mike-El? How did you not pick that one?
Because that one did not begin the Bronze Age.
So, all right. Well, maybe I'll read that one for my own amusement. All right. So, yeah, the big splash page then, Mike-El, we got, like Jank said, beginning, a return to greatness, an old majesty, and a stunningly new tale of thrills, tragedy, and heroism. Is there really tragedy in this?
No.
Well, no.
Yeah.
There's not really thrills either because there's no suspense at all, really. He's never in any danger whatsoever.
because the one thing that could put him in danger has just been destroyed. So you don't have to worry about
Probably a bad idea.
He's so bored he has to mix it up just to keep from falling asleep while fighting crime.
So Mike-El, on the splash page, then we get 3 pictures of Superman. One, he's blocking like an artillery shell with his chest. In the second picture, he's making pasta. And then in the third picture, he's flying.
Right. And then we get a second title, Superman Breaks Loose. That's the actual title, right?
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, it's not more. It's Superman Breaks Loose. Right.
But Mike-El, how we should say in the foreground, there's like a silhouette version of Superman from the back.
That's right.
And there's some text over that. Would you like to read that? Because I think it really sets the tone.
Invulnerability, strength, speed, all these things and many more combine to make Superman the most powerful being on Earth. But there is another side to the Man of Steel, a dark side hidden from both the crowds of admirers and the evil men who hate and fear him. So you know what? I'm actually going to give you guys a hint, and I'm going to tell you this person with their back to us is not Superman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I was going to say, at no point in this book do you get a sense that Superman has a dark side.
Nope.
You will.
It's a very enticing opening text crawl, but you don't really get a payoff in this issue for sure.
Also, I think we should point out, I mean, we'll find out later, but this issue is only the first part of a multi-issue storyline, and usually in Superman comics of this day, it was just done in one, right? So this was also like a new thing.
Yeah, usually, I mean, it starts out with him not being able to join the club.
Yeah.
And by the end, he joins the club. So the book
because he made the best brownies in the neighborhood.
You just described the origin of the Legion of Superheroes. That's exactly the story. They don't let him join the Legion of Superheroes, and then at the end, they tell him they were playing a joke on him. He's actually in the club.
Just a gag.
Yep.
Just a rib.
They won't even let me join the Columbia Records Club.
Oh, no. And I think you're getting a sense of why I don't like DC Comics. All right, so here we go. The book, take it away, Mike-El, the start of the book.
So then Superman is in the middle of helping. I love this, by the way. He's helping out with a scientific experiment where this guy is, he's got this new, source of energy. So he's going to use kryptonite to supply cheap electricity for virtually every underdeveloped area. That's what Superman says. And so, of course, the guy activates the bizarre device, and it's got a little off and then full switch. And so he puts it to full. And, of course, something instantly goes wrong, right?
Yeah.
So right away, sound the emergency alarm, the engine's out of control. And so I guess Superman had prepared for this, but instead of just, having like a kind of like an off switch. He has this gigantic iron, or no, is it lead? A big lead. Like shield. It's kind of like a semi-sphere that he uses.
Kind of like a contact lens.
Giant contact lens, right. And he smashes through the wall. Again, this could have all been built into the machine, but instead he smashes through the wall and tries to cover it up with this thing, but he's not quite successful because it explodes and then blows him through the wall, and he ends up landing kind of outside, like in the middle of this like desert on the sand. So he's knocked unconscious, and then when he wakes up, all these dudes are around him, trying to figure it out. And so then,
but not letting them into his club.
Yeah. So then,
what I like about this?
By the way, Jank, I was just going to say real quick, I don't think that's the first time Superman woke up surrounded by a bunch of dudes, but that's all I'm going to say. Okay. All right, so Jank, what were you going to say?
This guy is doing an experiment with the one thing that could kill Superman. Yes. Shouldn't he probably be like, hey, Green Lantern, how about you watch this guy?
Good point.
You can handle this one, or Wonder Woman. Somebody else who's not Superman.
Yeah, because Superman even says, if anything goes wrong with Professor Bolden's experiment, it could be fatal to me. Still, the work's important, so I'll check it out. All right.
So then we get a clue to the mystery. So Superman gets up off the ground, but there's still the imprint of him in the sand, right?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of funny. I mean, granted, if I was knocked down on the ground in the sand, I'd probably leave an imprint too. But in this story, it's more significant than that, right?
Yes.
So anyway, he gets up, and for some reason, so this guy's got kryptonite like in his pocket. He's like, Professor, look, the kryptonite. And he's like, get it away from here, you fool. It can kill Superman. He's like, no, it changed. Look, it's changed into ordinary iron. So basically, he's holding it up, even though it's still green, somehow he knows it's iron. Yeah. And he's like, and Superman's like, it's having no effect on me at all. Then this other guy comes running, and he's holding a whole bunch of kryptonite. He's like, look, this kryptonite we had stored in the vault, it's changed too. And then the guy's like, I know, iron. And he's like, and Superman's like, that vault is a considerable distance from the lab. I wonder, could the explosion have affected it too? And if it did, what about the rest of the green K on Earth? So now Superman's going to go investigate, right? So this is a big deal.
Yeah, I thought it was weird how he would call it green K and everyone else called it kryptonite. Like, is it just like he hates it so much he refuses to use its full name?
No, it's because at this point, power. Yeah. No, it's because there was also red kryptonite, gold kryptonite, blue kryptonite, white kryptonite.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he just call it this close to green kryptonite? He's always this green to K, or this close to green K. It's like he doesn't want to say the name. He's like, I hate it so much.
Maybe that's why.
They have to use it in every issue, so I'm sure he says it a lot. So he's just trying to save time.
Yeah, he's trying to save time. That's why.
Superman shorthand. Yeah.
So then on the next page, we see this headline, Kryptonite Destroyed, right? So now we know all the kryptonite on Earth has been turned into iron.
Now, how is that possible? No, I don't want to get tied up into the logics of comic books from the 1970s. But, how could every bit of kryptonite all throughout the world or the universe or whatever just suddenly change to iron? I can get the kryptonite at the site of the explosion. But throughout everywhere, it's all iron now?
It's fairly far-reaching effects, isn't it, for such a small explosion? Yeah. Remember, it did knock him into the sand, so it was a pretty powerful explosion, I think.
Yeah, it ripped that lead contact lens right out of his hand even. He said, I lost my grasp on it. And so I wonder how many people that lead contact lens killed in the explosion.
Yeah.
like flying.
All the dead bodies. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Jimmy Olsen's pumped, and Clark Kent, he's got to kind of act like he doesn't care that much, so no one knows he's Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great if he's like, yes, kryptonite's gone.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it anymore. Why do you care, Clark Kent?
Fishy. Right. So he's like, so now Morgan Edge, the new boss at the Daily Planet, is like, to Clark Kent, he's like, I want you to take this portable television transmitter, now known as a camera, and cover the launching of the new mail rocket. And
this is when I was like, all right, wait a minute, a mail rocket?
This is ridiculous.
They're going to cover the launch of a mail rocket, Mike-El.
This is called imagination. That's how you write these stories. You got to use your imagination, creativity.
And by the way,
we could have invented the internet, but instead we'll just have a rocket carry our mail.
Yeah.
We'll load up a rocket, blasted off from where are they at? New York or Metropolis, can get out to LA in 10 minutes. That's the big thing. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is it explodes on contact in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So pretty much all your mail's destroyed anyway, but this is a big scientific advancement. And we can tell, what'd you say his name is, Mike-El? Morgan Edge or Myron Edge?
Morgan Edge, yeah.
Morgan Edge. You can tell he's a dick because he smokes a cigarette with one of those cigarette holders.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed that too, yeah.
That's classic for dicks. Like Red Skull and this guy. They're the two that do it.
And Penguin. Penguin does
Morgan
too.
Edge.
Oh, that's right. The Penguin, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So now, like, you mentioned this guy who bought the Daily Planet. He also owns a TV station. So he just takes Clark Kent, a Daily Planet employee, who is a newspaper reporter, and says, hey, guess what, kid? You're now a TV broadcaster, and you're going to be on TV today. Get out there and cover this story by yourself. And that's what he does.
No experience, right.
Nope.
This guy runs a TV station about as well as Weird Al and UHF.
Right. And then I love how, now here's where Denny O'Neil creates drama, right? Now it's even harder for Clark Kent to have time to turn into Superman, right? Because now he's on TV.
Right.
And he's got to schedule his time as Superman around commercial breaks. Okay, this is good drama. So he's got 3 minutes, okay, before he has to be back on the air, and that's when he uses his time to turn into Superman and save the day.
And if you really want to create drama, make the big thing that you're worried about a male rocket. That'll really. Yeah. So with Superman, he's doing his television reporting. His X-ray vision, he can't help himself. He sees through a wall, and he catches some guy like hanging out behind a wall, looking sneaky, and he says, "I better check this out." So when there's a commercial break, he changes into Superman and confronts this fella.
That's right. You get a great shot of him turning into Superman. And then we get this.
Him pulling down his pants.
What's that?
That's right.
Yeah.
Pulling down his pants. Yep.
And then it's funny because I think he's like the last shot with the cape, or the second last shot. I think he's putting his clothes into that pouch. I don't know if you guys know, but apparently Superman keeps his clothes in a pouch in his cape, and I think that's what he's doing with his pants there.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not gonna.
Maybe it shrinks down like Flash's costume. I have no idea. But anyway,
It would totally ruin the line of the cape. You know. Come on.
Yeah, one side will be all bulgy. You can't fly like that.
Right. And I think it's in the S, though, so that kind of hides the bulge, but I don't know. You know, the yellow S on the back?
You should just stuff it down his pants. Give him a little bulge in front.
Make him a little more super in the front.
So anyway, he goes. So he had seen this guy with his X-ray vision behind a wall, and so he's like, "Hey, Superman." He's like, "How about letting me in on it?" And the guy's like, "Sure, Soupy. We're planning to heist the rocket. It ain't carrying no money, but we figure some foreign governments will pay plenty for the gadget itself, so's they can build their own. I don't mind telling you, because you ain't gonna live long enough to do anything about it. What I got here is the stuff is the stuff as will zap you, permanent, what you call kryptonite, right?" So he takes out this little lead box, and we get, well, possibly the most famous scene in the Bronze Age. Superman eats the kryptonite, right? So he's like, not bad, a triple stale. And it could use a bit of salt, but all in all, a nice little snack. And so right then and there, the significant event that lasted barely a year, there was no more kryptonite, and Superman's invulnerable to it. And now we know, right? It's awesome.
See, in
This
my
is
version,
pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's awful. And in my version of the story, Superman eats the kryptonite, and then like 10 minutes later, I don't feel so good, and then he dies.
Well, either way, he's got to pass a bunch of iron.
That's true.
That's going to be uncomfortable.
So then instead of, go ahead, Mike-DELL.
Well, I was just going to say, then he knocks the dude out with a tap, and
Right.
Mike-El, I love the punching, and this is literally, I don't know, he flicks his wrist at him. It's like if Charles Nelson Riley were knocking someone out, this is what it would look like. He just kind of like flicks his wrist and boom, knocks him out.
Well, the
Waves
funny
a little
thing
air
is-
at him.
Yeah, it's like Superman's so strong, he can't really punch normal people, right? He'd kill them, so.
Well,
Right.
later on, he punches people. He punches, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. So then, sure enough, he's done in time to get back on the air before the commercial break is over, right? So he's good to go. The rocket takes off. And then luckily, the smoke, or whatever it is, from the rocket is able to obscure, people from seeing him. So now he doesn't have to go into a phone booth. So now he can change into Superman again, right? And then he flies off and he sees two jets about to intercept the rocket. So now he's got to stop them, right? So now we remember at the beginning when they said there was going to be heroism? Here's the heroism, right?
But how are these
Thank
jets
God he's
going
saving that mail.
Yeah, you got to save the mail. But how are these jets going to intercept a rocket? Like, what are they
Very
going to do?
fast jets.
But what are they going to do?
Lasso it.
Yeah, like how are they going to stop the rocket? Like put it somehow? I don't know. Put it in their pocket? I don't know. I don't get it.
Good question. So then they're shooting at Superman, and he dodges the bullets. Yes, and then
he just takes them in the chest because he's Superman.
Yeah, but it's he says he could dodge them, but he says I might as well let them have fun. So yeah, you're right. He takes the bullets to the chest. So then he flies over and he wants to use his heat vision, but something is amiss because his heat vision doesn't work. He's like, that's never happened before. No time to worry about it. I'll have to resort to rougher methods. So then he rips the roof off the jet, right? And then he reaches in and he bonks their heads together. It's great.
Yeah. Just
and
crush
then,
their skulls.
Yeah. And then he flies over to the other jet and he smashes his hands through and he punches these guys on the tops of the head.
He uses his X-ray vision to see where they're at, and then he just punches through the top of the airplane, and then the fists go right into the top of their heads. So
right.
He punched hard enough, Mike-El, to get through an airplane, but soft enough to not damage their brains, apparently.
That's right. It's a delicate balance there, right?
It's Karate Kid-esque.
Yeah.
Just enough.
Yeah. So then you'll be happy to know the mail rocket is safe and sound.
Oh,
right?
Thank God.
So the day is saved. So then he kind of like brings these rockets and he's going to I guess he's going to help them kind of land. But as he's flying over, the planes, right. As he's flying over, you see a mysterious imprint in the sand. This is where Superman landed before. And he's like, and then he's thinking, I'm okay. Again, maybe I imagined the fainting spell, or maybe there are lingering traces of K radiation in the area, right? So something's going on here, but he doesn't know what yet.
Yeah, why did his heat vision not work? And he felt a little weak.
Right.
What's going on? Yeah, he just happened, has coincidental as it may be, he just happened to be over that exact spot where he landed in the sand the other day.
Right. It might be something worth checking into, but nah.
Yeah. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah. So then he touches base with the staff of the Daily Planet, and they're just
they're all happy about it. But dig Lois Lane. She's looking good. Well, what is she? I don't know if that's an office appropriate outfit, Lois.
Yeah.
In the 70s it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. And she doesn't really do much. She only has 2 lines this whole issue. But anyway. So then Morgan Edge lays the law down and he's like, I'm assigning you to WGBS TV on a steady basis. And Perry White tries to fight with him. But Morgan Edge is like, well, too bad, no arguments, White. I'm the editor. You may be the editor, but I'm boss. So that's it. Done. So then Superman's like, here we go, folks. Look, more drama. Will Superman always have to wait for commercials? So now there's going to be every issue. It's great. Love it.
Kryptonite, if you're scoring at home, Kryptonite has been replaced by commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Suspense. So then we think
He's also very lucky that this guy gave him a remote controlled camera and not a cameraman who's going to be following him the whole time.
Yes. Good point. Danny O'Neill did not think of that. Shit. Anyway, that would have saved this story. But anyway, okay, so then we get an epilogue, right? We go back to the imprint in the sand where Superman had landed earlier, but something happens. Uh-oh. We see some type of creature coming up from the sand that's in the shape of Superman, but made out of sand. And then it basically just, stands up and starts to walk away. And the narrator is like, it is a thing created from soil and rock in a burst of raw energy cast in the mold of Superman. And it lives like some nightmare creature. It plods towards the distant mountains and towards the villages and towns and cities beyond, moving slowly, relentlessly to a terrible destiny. Next issue, explosive action as Superman shows how to tame a wild volcano.
Yeah. Sounds like more Superman not fighting anyone.
And we should mention that last bit Mike-El read with the sand guy, the narration box is all jaggedy and crooked.
Yes.
And then like in the final one, even the letters are crazy to make it, tell you like, hey, there's something weird's going on here. This is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous. But yeah, there it is. That's the issue. Very short, thankfully.
Yeah.
It was very brief. Almost as quick as a mail rocket from Metropolis to LA. Now, there's another story after this. Jank, did you read this other story?
Yeah, I did. It was probably even less exciting than the first one.
Yes. Mike-El, did you read this other story?
Oh, of course, and I loved it.
All right, well, maybe let's talk about this, and then we'll come back and recap the other Superman.
Sure.
It's not really a story. Well, it is a story, but it's not much of a story. Basically, it's Jor-El and his buddy have got, what's his buddy? Oh, Kimda, have got these things on their heads, and they're called, so they're in a memory lounge, and basically they're putting these things on, and I think it's kind of like, it's not really virtual reality, right? But it's projecting them into other places, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But we should explain, though, this is billed as introducing new superheroes. The Fabulous World of Krypton, Untold Stories of Superman's Native Planet.
Right.
And
so this is in the past, yeah.
It's written by E. Nelson Bridwell and art by Murphy Anderson. And you mentioned Jor-El. That's Superman's dad, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So they would do this once in a while. They would tell stories back on Krypton, usually about Jor-El. So here he's kind of with his buddy, and again, they're called memory lounges. And so it's not virtual reality. He's just remembering. And so anyway, so he flashes back to the story, and they keep referencing these Kryptonian measurements, like
the months.
Yeah, like 37 Norzek. So I guess that's the month.
Yeah.
And he's like, I reported to the chief scientist, Professor Kendall, and the military commander, General Druzad. Now, I'm sure you guys know who General Zod is, right?
Yeah, I love General Zod.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's so awesome.
Before Zod.
So yeah, his full name is Druzad, which is so cool. But anyway.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that ruins it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like Zod.
No. Yeah. Just go with Zod.
So so it's kind of like, usually in the comics, Jor-El has a green and yellow costume, but here it's blue and red, so he basically looks like Superman. And so they show him experiment. They show him seeing, for the first time, this woman named Laura Lorvan. And on Krypton, see, I know this because I love Superman, but on Krypton, only women can be scientists. That's just one of the things. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah, only women can be scientists. Oh, and by the way,
Jor-El is a scientist.
No, sorry. Only women can be astronauts. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah. I should also point out that on Kryptonite, all of the black Kryptonians are on one island. And I'm not joking. Yeah, it's really weird. It wasn't the Bronze Age yet. They didn't know what they were doing, So
that guy didn't set Green Lantern straight yet.
Yeah, exactly. So they show Jor-El kind of like, kind of like going through like a journal, like 37 Bell Youth, year 9,995. I began experimenting with anti-gravity. And then 68 Bell Youth, success. I fitted a canine with experimental anti-grav belt.
That dog's like, what the fuck is happening to me?
So cool. Anyway. And then 70 Bell Youth, when Kendall and General Zod saw my demonstration, especially the belt I used to fly myself. So yeah. So basically later this will come into play, as these are different methods he was using, in case Krypton ever explodes and he needs a way to get off. Some of the methods he can use.
Oh, yeah.
In the rare chance that happens.
Right. And then he's like, 72 Bell Youth. Because of budget cuts, I've been obliged to use the cheapest, most common metal on Kryptonite, element 79, a.k.a. gold.
That's right.
So he builds a ship out of gold. Everyone's laughing at him, including Druzad. It shows us how much of a dick he is, I guess, right?
If only he were smoking a cigarette with a cigarette holder.
Right. So anyways, he's got this rocket, and he wants to use it, he wants to, like, operate it by remote control, but Lara is like, well, I want to, test fly it. And he's like, no, you can't. So then the rocket takes off, and then this is a weird sequence where suddenly a voice and picture comes through the communicator, and it's Lara on the ship. And she's like, Lara, aboard anti-grav ship, the Jor-El. I was looking around the ship and forgot the time. Guess I'll have to try the controls now. And Jor-El's like, that minx, she did this on purpose. Let's fly the ship. And so this is where things go hog wild. So then the ship is flying through the air and it's using anti-gravity. So basically, anytime it flies near like a planet, it's getting repelled. So the only way to fix that is for Jor-El to, he's going to cut off the anti-grav so that it can, fly towards the planet and actually land there. So then what's his name? So Jor-El, then he gets in his own rocket, he puts on a suit, gets in his own rocket, and he flies out to go meet Lara. And
wait.
Yeah, this is
important.
Yeah, there's a lot more here. Jank, would you like to say what's going on?
So he is stowing away aboard a rocket that's going towards this moon. He can't use any of their oxygen or weigh them down at all. So he decides he's going to put on his anti-gravity belt and like a self-contained spacesuit so that he can just kind of float there and do stomach crunches in midair like the whole time so that he doesn't touch anything.
Because he can't touch the wall. But the other thing I wanted to point out is, he's real scared about this Laura. Or is that her name? Laura?
Laura, yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, I got to go rescue her. And he says, I just hope Laura's alive. There's a thin atmosphere on Weg-Thor, concentrated in the lowest valleys. Luckily, the rocket to Weg-Thor blasts off in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another day and some hours before he gets there once the rocket takes off.
He's in such a rush to save her, he'll wait 3 days to stow away on the
She'll
show.
be fine.
I hope the oxygen lasts. So there you go. I'm sorry, but yeah, he stows away, and like Jank was saying, he has to like not touch anything, and he has to like not breathe as much. I
don't know how he plans on getting home.
Yes.
Yeah, good point. And then so then he's like a living statue. I maintained that position for the entire trip. 1 day and 7 Wolus. And then there's a note.
Yeah. This is great though.
I love it.
Because we've been mentioning they've been using these Krypton terms for periods of hours and seconds and stuff. So here he says, read that again, Mike-El.
I maintained that position for the entire trip. 1 day and 7 Wolus.
Yeah. So Wolus, they have a little editor's note explaining what that is, right? A Wolu is a Kryptonian time measurement equal to 10,000 Earth seconds. So he makes sure to use Wolos, but he uses days as well. Yep. So I guess days are still the same.
Yes. For some reason.
That's confusing.
It's very strange.
Yes.
Anyway. So now he lands on this planet, and he's exploring the terrain, and he finds that even on this planet, so he's using his anti-gravity belt, so he's leaping around, and a little bit of foreshadowing here. He's like,
yep.
I'm almost a Superman making fantastic leaps. And it shows him jumping over, like this huge mountain, the tallest peak. It's really cool. And then he's like, no sign of Lara. At least that leaves some hope she got away. So he finds the ship and he's like, no sign of Lara. But then he goes over and he comes upon the Valley of Gloom, a deep cleft in the ground where light seldom reaches. There I saw light, Lara in a fluorescent spacesuit, just laying on the ground there.
I think she's standing, maybe, but it does look like she's lying.
She's laying there, yeah. And then so it's like with spectacular leaps, I bounded to her side, grabbed her in my arms, and then she's like, I took this spare suit along and wore it to reach the valley. And then he's like, my discovery may have been a failure, Lara, but it did have one success, bringing us together. And that's how they met and fell in love.
But sadly, they both died because they had no way to get off the planet, and they ran out of oxygen.
Yeah.
Yep. And she's like glowing radioactively, so surprised they were able to have a child later on.
But yes, so their baby boy would grow up to become Lex Luthor, and it's a happy story.
Yep. Because they sent him in a gold rocket, so he got that's how he got rich.
And then, Mike-El, we get a big poster. A new year brings a new beginning for Superman, 1971.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun.
I wish you had bell bottoms or something there. Just really complete the slip.
I bet you had this on your wall at home, Mike-El.
I wish I did.
Superman, 1971. So there it is, the issue of Superman 233 from 1971. I don't know where to begin. Well, let's talk Kurt Swann. Let's talk Kurt Swann, man.
Okay.
So I did have a lot of info here. Now let's see if I can read it because my eyes are very watery and sleepy because they were doing this at an ungodly hour.
Before the sun is fully gone down.
Kurt Swann was born February 17th, 1920 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Mike-El, why is February 17th such an important date?
I have no idea.
That's my birthday, Mike-El. Thanks.
Oh! I forgot.
Ouch.
Sadly, he died in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
96. During World War II, Swann worked as an artist for Stars and Stripes, the old military magazine. And when he returned to civilian life in 1945, he started working for DC Comics. Except for a few night courses he took on the GI Bill, he was an entirely self-taught artist.
Incredible.
How about that? He briefly left comics for the advertising world due to arguments with Mort Weisinger, but he returned in 1951. And like we said before, he's considered the definitive Superman artist of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And DC got rid of him, Mike-El, when John Byrne came in to reboot Superman. And apparently he was kind of, he was unceremoniously let go. Whatever. Which is, another shameful mark against DC.
That's right.
That's quite the run, though. 3 decades.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any number there for how many he did?
Well, here we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, he was drawing them right up in in the 80s too. So Mike's Amazing World of Comics, some website, I have no idea what it is, but they totaled up these stats here for Kurt Swann. He did 1,020 covers total, all DC related. The first cover he did is Star Spangled Comics 43, April 1945. All told, he has 1,418 story credits.
Wow.
He drew 18,903 pages. All for DC.
Wow.
Holy shit.
So we should break down the math on that. But if you did 1 page a day, that's a lot of days, 18,000.
18,000 years.
How many Wolus is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, please put it in Wolu's for us. His first issue credit was World's Finest 21, March 1946. And then when you look through all the stories, about 80% of his stories are Superman related. So he has credits in 323 Action Comics titles, 45 of which were Tommy Tomorrow. He has credits for 314 Superman issues, 220 Jimmy Olsen issues, 93 Superboy, 82 Adventure Comics with Superboy or Legion of Heroes stories, 68 World's Finest, 21 Lois Lane, 19 DC Comics Presents, and then he did other stuff, but those are the Superman-related ones. Some of his prominent Superman issues, Superman 51 in 1948, that was the first Superman he did. Superman 76, 1952, is the first meeting between Batman and Superman and comics. Did you ever read that, Mike-El?
I'm sure I did, yep.
Superman 199 from 1976. This is with Jim Shooter, and it's Superman Races the Flash.
Oh, great story.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then Superman 423 in 1986 and Action Comics 582 were the last pre-crisis Superman. And this story, it was a 2-part story written by Alan Moore, Mike-El.
Oh, yes.
And it was called Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Right.
Now, I guess, would you like to explain this?
Sure. Well, it's kind of it's called an imaginary story, but it's kind of like what would happen at the end of Superman's career if all of his villains came back and kind of attacked him, and it's hard to explain, but it's sort of it's kind of like the end of the old Silver and Bronze Age continuity, and so it wraps up all the loose ends of all of his supporting characters and all of his villains. And again, it's written by Alan Moore. It's drawn by Kurt Swann, and it's a 2-parter. One of them's inked by Murphy Anderson, and the other one's inked by George Perez. And most people consider it the greatest Superman story ever written, and I think it is probably.
I read it last night, Mike-El.
Come on.
Yep, I read it last night, and it is a good story. It's enjoyable. I mean, I don't know if I want to call it the greatest because there's some problems, but I'm hoping there's something better. But it's a good story. It's a nice little story. And it ties everything up, and at the end, basically, Jank, to save you from reading it and to everyone else.
Don't spoil the ending. Come on.
We're going to. Come on, that's what we do. We spoil endings. Come on.
That's true.
But basically, Superman grows a mustache, and that's the ending.
Wow.
No,
everyone.
That's the culmination of his career. Huh?
Everyone thinks Superman's dead, but he just went off and married Lois Lane, and they're living like normal people.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a nice little story. But it does raise questions like, so what if his next door neighbor's house is on fire? Does Superman do anything about it?
Yeah.
No. Mike-El?
I don't know. I don't want to spoil it, but maybe they deal with that. But anyway.
Not really, do they?
You have to read it to find out.
I did read it.
You have to read beyond that to find out.
Yeah. But I thought it was an imaginary story.
No, it's true. That's the end. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end.
Yeah.
Mike-El's trying to bullshit you some more about Superman. No.
He's trying to sell you on books that don't exist.
But no, to be fair, if you only read one other Superman story, Kevin Jank, I would read that one.
Okay.
And that'll renew your faith. There you go.
Yeah, it's a good story. I mean, I don't know if it's 10 out of 10 or anything, but it's good. Favorite book for Curt Swann that he did was Superman Annual 9 from 1983, in which Swann appears in the book and helps Superman.
Sure,
have you ever self-serving?
Yeah, I was going to say, have you read that, Mike-El?
I don't remember that one, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't read it either. In 1995, now this is exciting stuff. In 1995, just a year before he passed, Swann did 4 illustrations for Penthouse Comics' reprint of Man of Steel, Women of Kleenex, based on Superman's frustrations trying to have sex with human women. Yeah.
And it's sort of weird because it's like seeing Archie like have actual sex. Like it's weird seeing Curt Swann draw an actual porn, but that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the original story was written by sci-fi author Larry Niven, and I think it was originally published in 1971, and then Penthouse reprinted it in 95, and they got Swann to do 4 illustrations. And Jank, you know that old Kevin Smith bit about Superman?
Oh, sure I do.
Yeah, well that's Larry Niven. That's when it was first written. Like Smith just, I don't know if he intentionally stole it, but like the same gags were in that story about, same things.
Yeah, I don't know. I get the feeling that was before the internet. You might not know that was out there.
So the 4 illustrations that he drew, and he drew them like it's clearly Superman and stuff, but they can't say it's Superman. So when he's in a Superman outfit, he's basically all in black, kind of, and there's no clear logo. But so the first picture is of him as Clark Kent, and he's using his X-ray vision to look at 2 ladies arguing on the street. And of course, he's just looking at them naked, so you get to see the naked ladies.
Yeah, you get to see Lana Lang and Lois Lane.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's who they are.
Yeah, it's full frontal nudity. And again, it's very strange to see because Curt Swann is one of my favorite artists, and to see his version of Lana and Lois completely naked is very strange indeed.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
And by strange, you mean awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the
track this down. Is this available on the site?
Yeah,
just Google it up.
Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex.
Yeah, for research purposes, Jank, I had to read it. Right. And I had to look at that
for the
picture
team.
Of naked Lois and Lana for several minutes just for research. I think the first illustration is just like at the Daily Planet, nothing too racy about that. Then you get that one, and then the third one is Superman on top of Lois Lane, just giving it to her. Yeah,
that's right. Yep.
Yeah. And then the fourth one is Superman pregnant.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because the story, like the premise of the story, is he can't get anyone. It would be wrong for him to impregnate other women because his the baby would kill the women, kicking and everything. So eventually, he decides that he has to carry the baby himself.
Finally, some adversity for this guy.
Yes, it's like twins. Schwarzenegger. Yeah. It's the same thing. Or not twins. What was the one Schwarzenegger did?
Junior.
Right? Junior.
Yep.
Junior. Yep. Yeah. For a second there in my head, I thought Schwarzenegger was pregnant with Danny DeVito. There it is, Kurt Swann. All right, Mike-El. Let's talk about the art first.
Sure.
Because this is Kurt Swann, an iconic name of the business. I would say it's very Silver Agey, right? Like it's just, but it's good storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that's missing from it, I always look for those dynamic action, like Kirby and Buscema. You don't get that. Like even the action scenes are kind of stiff, but it's still good art.
Well, here's the thing: is like, my two favorite artists are Jack Kirby and Kurt Swann, and they're completely opposite, right? Like,
yes.
Kirby is all about action and exploding out of the panel and crazy
dynamic
angles.
compositions,
right?
Yeah.
And Kurt Swann is more like, it's almost like it's like if it was a director, it's like the camera is kind of always just at a mid shot, and everyone's kind of just standing there. And it depends if you like that or not, but I personally love it. I think he's great. This is probably not his best, but it's still really good.
Jank, how'd you feel about the art?
I thought it was solid. Nothing too spectacular. I mean, when they do show close-ups, the faces are pretty good. I like that Morgan Edge kind of has like a little bit of a pig nose. Not like full singer from Sum 41, but close. So, but
I'll take your word.
Those were pretty good.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought it was okay. Nothing. It didn't knock me off my feet or anything like that. But for the time, it's fine. If
you like more modern, dynamic stuff, you're not going to love it. But if you like Silver Age art, this is great. And then
but I do got to point out the last page of the sand creature coming up. That's like probably the best page. That's a great little sequence at the end of him kind of walking away. I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
But how would you think Kirby would have done that though? Like it would have been much more dramatic though, right?
Yeah, probably. But the texture is really good in that. Like the way he's walking. That's really good. And
I feel like it looks more clean than Kirby. Kirby would be more angular and weird.
Right. Yeah. Like Kurt Swann is very, I don't know how you like, I don't want to say feathery, but like it's really like soft, like Kirby's really angular. And also this is inked by Murphy Anderson, who drew the second story, and he's one of Kurt Swann's most famous collaborators. And he kind of gave it that soft edge, he's really good.
I read that they were known as Swanderson together.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing because the final sequence we're discussing with Swann, it's 4 small panels at the bottom third of a page. I'm guessing Kirby probably would have done like maybe 3 on one page and then a giant splash page to show the monster.
Probably, yeah, probably. Anyway. Oh, I should also point out I didn't meet, but I saw Kurt Swann at a comic convention in like the early 90s, so that was pretty cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
You saw him.
Yeah, like I didn't talk to him directly, but I was in a Q&A that he was at, and someone asked him what his favorite Superman story was, and he's like, basically he implied none, it was just a job.
Wow.
He did 18,000 pages, why would he care, right? Anyway.
Yeah, just think of that. 18,000 pages. Good Lord.
Oh, man.
A lot of Superman.
And he hated every second of it.
Yeah.
Well, I did read a quote from him where he said he gets more joy out of seeing a little kid smiling over a comic book. Like that's what makes it all worthwhile, not the money or just seeing kids smile. So it seems like he liked it to some extent, but I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, the writing here, Denny O'Neil. This story's absurd. It's just it's awful.
Here's the thing, Denny O'Neil, again, famous for so many things he did for DC and Marvel, but I've learned that he's actually not that good a writer. Maybe at the time he was doing things no one else was doing as far as like the social relevance in Green Lantern and Green Arrow, but. Yeah, I gotta agree. Like this story was actually slightly better than I thought it would be, but it's definitely not great. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just preposterous. Like I don't know, Jank, what'd you think?
I mean, I could see how, as the beginning of a longer story, this isn't bad. Like, there's no drama at all in this story for sure, but I could see how they're setting it up for there to be some later on. If you can just get through all this stuff to get to that, like you got to have him build him up before he can fall completely. But this story in and of itself, there's very little going on. He's fighting guys that he have no chance of hurting him in any way.
Especially
he's like getting bored while he's doing it. Yeah. I like that everyone not only knows about kryptonite, but it seems like everyone has it. Even just these thugs who are trying to steal a mail rocket, they've got kryptonite.
Right.
Yeah, the whole mail rocket thing was just nuts. But I did like the ending. Like Mike-El was talking about the sand guy coming up. That's a good hook. It's like, oh, I got to tune in next time to see what happens. To that, a big sand. So I like the ending. But yeah, the rest of the story is just nonsensical. And there's like good, like when Bex Luthor and we did that Captain Midnight story, which was so absurd, it was awesome.
Right.
This is just absurd bad. Like, just I don't know.
Yeah, like I can enjoy it on a different level. Like, I mean, the Dr. Midnight story was insane. This is more just like. Yeah, like I don't know. I've been reading some late '80s Superman, and they're dull. Like they're equally dull, but they're not nearly as enjoyable as this. So I did enjoy it more than those, but not nearly as much as Dr. Midnight. But then again, the Dr. Midnight story is now the new gold standard for flea market fantasy. So I don't know if we'll ever find something that good again.
That was pretty phenomenal.
Oh, I was going to ask you if you read it, Jank. So yeah, you didn't read it.
I didn't read it, but I heard the episode. So.
Oh, okay. Cool. But
struggled.
Mike-El.
Laughing.
I think this episode would have been better, or this issue would have been better if the guys stealing the mail rocket were doing it on antique bicycles.
Yeah, you're right.
That would have been awesome.
Would have made as much sense as using airplanes.
Yeah, like what was their end goal? Because again, they weren't trying to destroy the mail rocket; they were trying to steal it. So, what were they going to do? I don't get it.
Ransom it.
Just fly next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe let someone down on a rope and he gets in there and monkeys with the controls or something. I don't know.
The human fly.
There you go.
Maybe he was going to climb on top of the airplane, just grab it.
Hope there's no rainstorm this time.
Do it for the fly. Yeah, so there it is. Mike, I don't know. Anything else about this, Mike-El?
I can only say that this so what ends up happening? I haven't read the whole thing, but
yeah, I was very curious about that. Like, what happens with this sand guy? What's the name of this sand guy?
Sandman.
I think he's called Sandman. Funny enough.
Does DC have enough of those?
Yeah, I know. Eh? Basically what happens is the point of the story is to reduce Superman's powers, and so either in the next issue or the issue after, he basically goes back to only being able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. He's strong. I think he loses his heat vision and all his other extra powers. And so it's trying to return him to his like golden age roots. And I think it was a great idea, but unfortunately, as soon as Denny O'Neil left, they just turned him back to the all-powerful Superman.
Yeah, see, I love that because I love George Reeves' Superman, 1950s TV show.
Right.
I can get behind that Superman. I like that Superman. But he's just way too overpowerful, too nonsensical, his powers. So I like the idea of Denny O'Neil trying to depower him.
Right.
But the whole kryptonite thing was weird because that makes him more powerful, technically.
I think it's because there was so much kryptonite because, like you said, every hooligan on the street has like it in his pocket, kryptonite. Yeah. So, maybe that was his way of just getting rid of the idea altogether. I don't know.
And so when Denny O'Neil left, that kryptonite thing went away, too?
Yeah, like basically what happened was new kryptonite fell from space and just landed on Earth. Yeah. So that wasn't turned into lead. So yeah.
Wow. No. But just think how lucky you were, though, because if that new kryptonite had landed on Earth the same time the old kryptonite was, a viable source of contamination, he would have been screwed. Thankfully, it waited until the old kryptonite was turned to iron.
Right.
Yep.
So, all right.
There was one line in this story I wanted to ask you about, Mike-El. They mentioned, that he is weak against magic, but they're like, oh, that's super rare. Like, is it that rare? I know in the Marvel universe it's very common, but I'm pretty sure even in DC, magic's pretty out there. Like, isn't Wonder Woman's lasso magic and all kind of things?
Honestly, like I wish they wouldn't. It's kind of awkward whenever they address things like that. It's like it's almost like whenever one comic addresses the greater continuity, it kind of all falls apart. Like there's a scene in John Byrne's Superman where he's like, wow, I can't believe, because it's when he finds out he's from Kryptonite. He's like, wow, I can't believe I'm an alien. Well, then again, it's not that big of a deal because Hawkman's also an alien, and so is Martian Manhunter, and so is, Tommy Tomorrow. But it is a big deal, and it just kind of ruins the believability. Like, don't even address it. Just leave it alone. Don't even talk about it. It's better to do that, to suspend disbelief.
Yeah, and we brought this up before, but it is kind of weird how DC, most of their heroes are one individual from a greater group of people who would all be superheroes if they were here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did we talk about that?
I think we did. But it's very rare, like, Marvel's like they're all individuals, and like DC, it's all like just one member of a greater society who...
Oh, I never thought of that. Like,
it happens a lot.
Aquaman.
Maybe we talked about this on LCS.
Aquaman.
Martian Manhunter, Aquaman. Yeah, geez, I never thought of that.
I mean, Green Lantern's a human, but he's one of many lanterns,
Right.
All that other stuff. Yeah, maybe we talked about it on LCS.
Yeah, but that's a good observation. Huh.
I'm full of them, Mike-El. I'm full of them.
First one I've heard, but yeah, it's only 50 episodes.
He was saving it for the 50th episode.
Yeah.
And now we're done.
Yeah. So Kevin, I know you have to go. I know you have to do trivia.
I got time.
But I just want to know, because, it is the 50th, and, you agreed to do Superman, even though, you're not a huge Superman fan. Do you prefer Superman to be powerful or all-powerful, or more like depowered?
Oh man, that's tough. I do like him to have more powers, but at the same time, when he's just super powerful and the only thing that can hurt him is kryptonite, I don't like that. I don't really like when superheroes have like artificial weaknesses. Like, I kind of prefer the Spider-Man types, who's like, he's strong but he's beatable,
right?
As opposed to somebody just like, oh, here's this rock that'll make him weak, or like, oh, he only gets to use his powers for an hour, something like that. I don't like the external kind of limits like that. So I guess I would say I'd prefer him being a little bit less powered. Just so you can manage.
He shouldn't be able to reverse time by flying around the Earth.
Definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
The thing is, there's a lot of really good Superman stories from the 60s where he is really powerful, and I used to think that was good, but the problem is you can do those stories, but if you do, they can't really be realistic. Like, there's no way to do a modern Superman like that. So it probably is better, like you said, Mike-DELL, if it is put him back to the George Reeves Superman, where he's strong and he can fly, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, like he's super strong, stronger than anyone else on Earth or whatever. But he's still not moving planets and shit like that.
Right. Yeah. Like, there are stories.
Yeah, that gets out of hand.
Yeah, like there's stories where Superman or Superboy is towing planets with like chains. Like, that's ridiculous, It's cool for like a kid's story, but you can't tell a serious story like that. Like, it's just absurd,
Or like that Alan Moore Swamp Thing bit where I can count all the molecules and the.
Oh no, that's awesome! What are you talking about?
Okay. and even in that Alan Moore whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow story. Like, there's a bit where he says he can see radio waves and stuff. I mean,
oh no, that's
I
fine.
guess I don't know. I don't know if he needs to be doing that though.
Yeah, it seems out of his purview.
Like, I think that's a cool way to do the all-powerful Superman, but only people like Alan Moore can do it well, and so it's easier for writers if Superman is more like George Reeves Superman, I think.
He also shouldn't be faster than the Flash. That's the Flash's gimmick.
I agree.
Yeah,
he should be
that's all he's got.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. All right, so there it is, Superman 233. Jank, 1 out of 10.
I'll give it like a 4.5.
He only gives half just to make me mad, Mike-El. That's all he does.
Yep.
He always gives a half just to make me mad.
That's my gimmick.
4.5. Mike-El, 1 out of 10.
Well, this is a tough one because Kurt Swann is my favorite artist, or my second favorite, but as an actual comic, I can't really go higher than a 6 out of 10. It's not great. It's definitely not great.
The story's terrible. It's all bad. But Kurt Swann's a nice guy. I kind of like the ending, so I'll give it 3 out of 10 and be generous.
Ugh.
3 out of 10.
Brutal.
Tops. Not good.
I'm definitely going to send Kevin Jank. I'm going to send you some links to better. Like, I'm going to send you whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow plus another one, so you'll see.
Okay. Hopefully none of those will be deemed abusive.
We'll see. And
like so, kicked Jank, off Facebook forever.
Thanks for joining us on the big 50th episode, Jank. But I think to make it up to you, the next time you come on, you pick whatever issue you want, and it has to be on a week that Mike-El has a pick.
I like it.
All right, whatever.
I feel like last episode should have been the 50th because that one was definitely double sized.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. I'm still tired. I'm still winded from the Captain Britain episode. But Jank, this is your third appearance. I think the first time you were on, you did Hulk. That was your pick.
Yep.
Right? You did Hulk. Yeah. Then you came on to do an Avengers issue with us that I had picked.
Yeah, with the Taskmaster.
And then Superman here that Mike-El picked. So now next time it will be one of your picks. You get to just let me know. But I really think it should count against Mike-El's choices. You know.
I disagree, but whatever. Whatever is all I gotta say.
All right,
I'll let you guys fight it out amongst yourselves.
So next week.
Yeah, somebody's got to do trivia. So let's talk about next week.
Next week.
All right.
Back to my pick, and we're going to go to 1970, a year before this.
Okay.
And we're going to go Silver Surfer, number 17.
Whoa, that's the second last issue?
I believe so.
Wow, nice. I've read that. It's John Buscema, right?
Yep, John Buscema is the artist, and the writer, Mr. Stan Lee.
Awesome.
So we'll talk about Stan Lee.
The second to last issue, it's probably going to have like a big cliffhanger for the next issue. So that'll be great.
Yeah, what's going on in this book is he's like being blackmailed by Mephisto to like kill people. He has to go kill people. S.H.I.E.L.D.
Wow.
I think he has to take down S.H.I.E.L.D. actually. So
cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Nothing's cooler than blackmail.
All right, so I guess that wraps up the big 50th episode of Flea Market Fantasy. Every week we review a different Bronze Age comic, including this week's, which began the Bronze Age. Next week we're talking about a different Bronze Age comic, Mike-Dell's pick. So yeah, you can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, where else? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, the Comic Book Syndicate website, all under Comic Book Syndicate, Flea Market Fantasy.
And Mike-El, I also made a deal with NBC. We'll be on NBC from now on.
Perfect.
Ooh.
Good to know. Now they're airing podcasts. Great. Okay.
Right after Alf.
Yeah.
Alf and then Flea Market Fantasy.
All right. So until next Tuesday, disperse.